It is a pleasure. It is an honor. I am so excited to welcome my friend Barbara Blatz-Stone to be with us on Discovering W.I.S.E today. Barbara got her start in Wall Street. She spent 20 years in the fashion industry, and after that 20 years, why not go get an MA in positive organizational psychology, right? And I got the pleasure of meeting Barbara in a Neuro Leadership Institute class. That's a program we both went through for, was that a 5 or 6 month long program overall? It was an excellent program, a great time of getting to know one another. And I know she's going to have some awesome tidbits for you today. She also is, and maybe primarily, right, she may put these ahead. We'll let her talk about that, but she's a mother to 2 beautiful, amazing young women and a wife to a husband who's in the entertainment industry. So all kinds of stuff to share today, Barbara.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Carrie, for having me on today. This is an amazing podcast. I love the topic.
Well, let's just dive right in. As I know, after 20 years in an industry and being highly successful as you were, you made a shift in your life. And I know you've got a mission right now that is near and dear to your heart. So talk to us a little bit about what your current mission is.
I would say after doing my MA in positive organizational psychology, I found coaching, and through the university and coaching through the Getty Leadership Institute. And once I tapped that once, it just lit me up like no other way I can even express, so much more than the fashion industry. So really my mission now as a coach, certified positive leadership coach, is to serve and impact as many humans as possible through mindful, positive, focused coaching. I mean, I want to holistically expand self-awareness to identify authentic purpose together, whatever matters most to that person or team, to empower those possibilities, and then co-create action. I'm all about action. So during any coaching journey, it's really critical to me that I create the psychological safety so that people can express those meaningful priorities and feel really comfortable with me and with accountability. I would say, I guess part of my mission too is I use a positive strengths and solution-based approach. Like, the solution-focused approach is what we did together, Carrie, right. The brain-based coaching. But, my intention in any coaching engagement is really on achieving holistic results. I know I introduced myself as a certified, positive leadership coach, but I don't really like to label or pigeonhole myself as an executive coach or leadership coach, career coach, life coach, because I've really coached within all those spheres. Because I feel like my holistic approach integrates the mind, body, heart connection. By taking that, my business experience, my BA in economics, a Wall Street start, 20 years in corporate fashion, and then the MA, executive mindfulness, the brain-based coaching, I've really seen how kind of motivation is directly connected to our physical, psychological, and emotional state. So it really makes sense, if we can understand our emotions or triggers and how they hold us back, we can really be more connected to and have a better chance of achieving our goals, right? I mean,
it's a beautiful time today. I mean, if we were talking about this 5 or 10 years ago, certainly, there's all this, it's airy-fairy or woo-woo or whatever. But today, there's science that backs that reality, and we know so much more about it and the reality of being able to help people. I love how you said, as they define it, like success. I always say success as you define it, right? Because it's different for everybody, but that mind, heart, body, the triune, like that connection is super, super important. So I love that you have that approach. And I love that you said, I just want to impact as many human beings as possible. Like that is my mission. I know this stuff and now I need to share it, right? So how are you measuring how you're doing on that mission today?
I would would say my measure of excellence, or my measure, of how I'm doing on my mission, is really the level of connection and impact that I have. If I've met with you, coached you or your team, and we're both better off after our meeting, my mission's moving forward. I mean, I actually coach around emotional connection in the body, of course. So even for myself, if I'm aware of certain sensations in my body, if I've noticed that I've truly connected deeply with a coaching client or team, I've asked questions that led to that 180 transformational change, and they feel motivated and excited to go out there and take action, I feel like there's, how do I describe it? It's kind of like a grounded electric charge of energy that runs through me. I know I made the authentic impact. It's like electric charge that I was hoping for. Wow. And, I think about, did that person or team, did they walk away with something of value? And that's I guess, how I measure.
Well, that's a beautiful measurement, and asking, how did this impact you, in our coaching journey together? What was the greatest insight that you had today? Absolutely. But I think that you hit on something that's really important for all of us as human beings to connect to, and that is, we can, if we trust how we feel, pay attention to how we're feeling, what's going on in our bodies, you can feel when you're having that connection and or breakthrough, right? And so many of us just hard charge through our days and don't stop to pay attention to that. So it's beautiful that you bring that up.
Self-awareness. Mm-hmm. Right? I mean, how can we be aware of others' needs, especially, as managers, leaders, CEOs, whatever? How can we be aware of others' needs if we're not aware of our own, and we're not paying attention to our own emotions, our own states, so to me, it's critical to look at that triad,
right? And
really look at all those connections together.
Yeah, I love it. When you think about, your days, and maybe you're challenged in starting your day or getting through your day, whatever it might be, do you have a go-to quote or affirmation that you have for yourself?
I think of the one that's been on the bottom of my signature for the last couple of years. Life begins at the end of your comfort zone. And, moving out of that safety zone to really experience life. And I think I put it, if I remember correctly, I put that there when I first went back to school. I mean, here I am, I'm older. I was older than some of the professors, and I'm in these, grad school level courses, and talk about stepping out of your comfort zone. And especially when you've left a situation where it was kind of at the top of my game. Yeah. I was a consultant. It was, your salary, your title, it. And this, you're just walking into, I don't know anything. And I have to learn from everyone. And I really feel that it's all based on that growth mindset. I never knew, positive psychology really focuses on it. And so did brain-based coaching and neuroscience focus on it as well. But, it's accepting those uncomfortable situations and thinking about, what can I learn here? But that's really one of the quotes. Another one that I love is fall down 7 times, get up 8. Life starts from here.
Right.
And it's just about that, the strength, the courage, sometimes even the defiance to choose to
right.
stand up again and again, after being knocked down, and just again, that growth mindset, mindfully just thinking about, what can I learn? So that's kind of my focus. It's always, I also have a thing, like, I feel once you figure out, or once you start thinking, I can't learn anything anymore, or I know enough, and you sort of get into that fixed mindset, I feel like that's when you get old.
We see it, right? And there's science behind that too, right?
Absolutely. There is positive psychology around that. There's plenty of science around that.
So what I love about that, and I subscribe to, is this reality that we have to be comfortable with being a beginner in order to do new things.
So
and if we're not doing new things, then what exactly are we doing? Right? What's the point? Right? So I sure hope that at the end of my days, people are saying she was a lifelong learner, and she continued to be the kind of person who would continue to try new things and be okay with being a beginner. It's hard though, right? I mean, it's just...
Well, it is. I mean, I remember when I first started grad school, and again, it's like just strip away everything and you're standing there. I mean, vulnerability, just so vulnerable. I mean, at that point, I didn't even know what a Google Doc was. I mean, I was in a creative field. We didn't really,
we didn't do that.
We didn't need to do that. But I remember I spent more money on coffees and lunches and, just bartering. If you show me what a Google Doc is, I'll show you how to negotiate your salary.
There you go.
It's like, let's talk here. And I realized I shouldn't throw away everything that I had. Mm-mm. It was a matter of just, owning it, but also owning that I don't know everything. Wow. And, at that point, saying to yourself, at my age, saying, I don't know everything, I realized just how helpful that was. Mm. And, it was kind of a funny thing. I ended up being the student speaker at graduation at commencement. Mm. And, again, I was like, what do I have to say to everyone? But a lot of it was that. A lot of it was being a lifelong learner, being aware of your own vulnerability. And also, I likened it to statistics and being an outlier. I was probably one of the biggest outliers there. So I just thought, again, that the whole collective, that thought process of what we can learn from each other. And so much. That I find so important in coaching too, and encouraging people to have that mindset, how important that is.
Well, it's a challenge that we all face from day to day, whether we're, naturally leaning toward that, toward a fixed mindset or otherwise, we'll fall back into those patterns, if you will, and need people around us to help us be open. So I love that from a coaching perspective. When you think about keeping yourself in that positive space where you are able to give in to others and help draw out of them that stuff that they need to get to, right? Which I know you do so very, very well. Are there some non-negotiable practices for you personally that you have in your day, your week, your month, where you're like, I have to do these things so that I can stay in the right space to be able to live out my mission?
I would have to say, when I think about non-negotiable, is I try. Let's put it this way. I try. But it is, and I coach a lot around it, is balance and self-care. I really work at being realistic about what I need to be at my best. And like I said, I coach around it as well. But that's become more of a priority for me. I think I mentioned before, I did get a maybe hybrid COVID at the end of April, and it lasted a very long time. And in fact, it actually kind of lingered and now has created some energy and exercise restrictions for me.
I'm so sorry.
It's been kind of tough, but it's been a lot of, again, that growth mindset, a lot of learning there.
Yeah.
But, people who know me, I have an unbelievable amount of energy and stamina, but now there's a level of acceptance about my level of self-care and how important that is, because I need to conserve my energy sometimes and parse it out. So if I know that I need to be of service to someone or a team, and coach that day, it is critical that my self-care needs to be really prominent beforehand. It's a priority so that I can really be on my A game. And the things that I do, one thing I love doing is, it's a breathing app, and it really helped me on some of those really bad nights of my hybrid COVID. It's called breath work. It's breath, W.I.S.E, and it was actually created by someone at Claremont Graduate University. But it's just, whether it's breathing in the morning, whether it's breathing to go to sleep, but it's training your body. And again, that mind, body, heart connection is all part of that. Helps with your emotional stamina, anxiety, stress release, lowering your heart rate. So all of those things. So I do use it all the time. And then the other thing is, some yoga stretching always. And then I also do my best to protect my little superpower or my number one strength, which is positivity. And that's important for me.
And how do you protect that? What does that look like for you? If you could give, one or two examples of protecting that, because I think that that's a really important subject in today's day and age, right? With a lot of negativity going on out there in the world.
Absolutely.
So how do you protect it?
I would say one of the important things is, there's so much news going on now. There's so much conversation about everything that's happening in our world, and that's constant. I mean, that's an ongoing process. My husband, we're so different. My husband loves to dig deep, very political, loves to listen to every bit of it. I like to get the highlights. I like to be informed, get some facts. That's enough. I find that I'm the barometer for my family. I'm the barometer for even some of my coachees, for teams, for my extended family. If I tend to get too involved with some of these things, it will tend to spiral me and deplete a lot of my positivity that other people really tend to count on in me. They really expect that. They want that. And yes, I will say that's one way of protecting is to just conserve, say that's enough. Another way is to just withdraw for a while. If I am depleted, I will reschedule a coaching session. I will reschedule even a conversation, a networking Zoom, anything where I feel that I don't have that energy, because that's what people expect from me. And actually, that's what I expect from myself. That's when I know I'm really myself. I'm my authentic self.
Sure. And I mean, that goes back to what you were saying earlier about self-awareness, right? If you know that you're not able to show up in your best way, right? Mm-hmm. Stepping back and taking a pause is probably advisable for a variety of reasons, not the least of which is showing up in the way that you need to show up in that space, right?
Absolutely.
So that's great. When you think about this why and this shift, I mean, your current why I know is different than when you originally started out in life,
Absolutely.
right? I assume that it has evolved along the way as a result of that long resume and the shifts that have recently come. But are there particular people that maybe inspired you along the way that you can highlight and say, you know what, this person was a big influence on me, or this person really impacted who I've become?
I would have to say, I think it tied into something else I was thinking about, kind of the catalyst of this shift. And if I might just speak to that
Please.
For a moment. The catalyst for me, or there were several. I lost my parents between 2011 and 2013 and just felt untethered. We're a very big family, and that was hard. At the same time, my older daughter was going off to Copenhagen to study positive psychology. My younger daughter was starting to look at other colleges, visit them, look at opportunities all over the country. Both of them we're all very global. My husband's British. And my husband was also morphing his career into being more, writing, producing. So he was going to be leaving for London. And I was thinking to myself, standing on a campus with my daughter in the middle of, I can't even tell you where it is. And I just wondered deep down, and it had to be with every fiber of my being, like, what is my purpose now? I was still a consultant, fashion industry, but what was my purpose now that meant something to me?
Right.
I felt like both my daughters were, of course, pursuing these opportunities and everything. And my husband, really shifting, making a transition. I just felt like continuing the fashion industry seemed purposeless. And I just knew I wanted to impact people, but how? So one of the first things I did was engage a life coach. At the time, this is like 6-7 years ago, life coaches, I'm going to say, and I hope I'm not offending anyone, a bit woo-woo.
Yeah, well,
I
already went there, right?
Very, very kind of out there. But I was smart enough to know that I couldn't do this on my own. And then there was a lot more out there that I was not exploring. So I engaged Dr. Lloyd Williams. I give him a shout out because he has 2 PhDs, travels the world, works with governments, all kinds of students. He's just an incredible man. And within 10 sessions, if you would have told me, well, you're going to be going back, to grad school, I would have said,
the look on your face is like, you're outside your mind.
It was amazing. But I was, and it just felt like I found my purpose. I owned everything that I was good at, everything that had meaning for me at the time. I learned not to throw that away. I didn't want to throw away being in the fashion industry and doing well. And also, working with my teams and really thriving with them. Also, being a mom. I can safely say I was good at it. I enjoyed it, and I should own it. I shouldn't try and throw it away and put it to the side, or especially in corporate America, who cares? I was good at it, bottom line. So it was really more about now, who do I empower now? How do I do it? So all of a sudden going back to school, one of my professors, give her a shout out, Dr. Becky Reichert. I did my strengths my second semester. I'd never done that before. And I found out, no surprise, my number one strength is positivity, but that most of my strengths focused on relationship building and the others were influencing. And she asked me at the time, I thought they were kind of lame leadership strengths. I'm like, I sound like someone's best friend. That's great. I know I'm a good friend. And
but that could be very, very valuable in the line of work you're in now.
Absolutely. And that's what she said to me. Did you ever think about being a coach? And I went, not exactly. I was thinking about more in a different realm. I really had to focus on, kind of young adults and suicide. There was a lot of that in sort of my daughter's friends' lives, and just focusing on it in a positive way to help to shift. But when I looked at that and I applied for the Getty Leadership Institute, I did that. And immediately, like I said, once I started coaching, that just helped me to just jump. And I will say, so if you look at who really spoke to that and really influenced me. So yes, Dr. Lloyd Williams, Dr. Becky Reichert, and my sister as well, Jennifer Wiesner. She had an epiphany. She's younger than I am, but had an epiphany 5 years before I did, and went from being a family, a family therapist
yeah,
to being a sex therapist through just going to a different conference, and all of a sudden just, again, self-awareness and knowing I'm feeling something different here. This is fascinating me, and just going with her gut and her heart and really just speaking to that.
New.
And now, she has leaps and bounds, which, just really soaring. And I thought that has influenced me. My daughter's influenced me, and my husband. So supportive. Me going back to school and working, and them, caring, like I couldn't be around at all. It was totally unavailable. So that was just a big change. And, they really, the support, the love, the encouragement, when I just thought I can't do it.
So I know, there's you've already alluded to a couple of roadblocks and just things that were kind of in your face, like, oh, okay, hello, here I am, and I feel kind of like a fish out of water. Do I belong here? What's going on? But what other obstacles along the way have you encountered that you've had to overcome?
I can speak to when I was little. I was always like, this is dating me, but like Pollyanna.
Yeah.
Okay. Everything, the glad game. I really had that mentality. But about in my teenage years, and then I lost my brother to suicide day before his 17th birthday. And then entering into Wall Street patriarchy and just the negativity. Then going into the fashion industry, realizing, that's my passion. I had sewn and made things since I was 5 years old. I was a very creative person. So this worked out. It was terrific. I just soared. I started working in London, came back here, went to LA. But that is, especially 20 years ago, very, very negative industry, a very self-centered, but also not empowering industry. And it began to erode my positivity. I fell into a space where I don't even know if I knew myself. And I feel like I lost myself. My husband and I had a tough time, I think, dealing with that. I felt that I knew I wasn't myself, but I didn't know how to get around it. And I thought, this is the industry, and if I want to be in it, I have to be part of it. But I think along the way, I'm glad I at least trusted my own gut instincts. And I felt that by doing that, I listened to my inner voice. And after a while, I thought, I need to change. This is not who I am. I'm not happy. Am I happy? No, I'm not. So changing jobs, how many times, thinking that was it. We almost lost my daughter when she was born. She actually turned blue. She had a breathing disorder. She's fine now. But again, these things, they help you check. Where are you? What matters? And I realized at that point, and then even my second daughter, she had a digestive disorder. And again, it was kind of, you can't go back to work in that power crazy way that you did before. So you need to find a different way. I basically, in a way, I guess, was like a trailblazer at the time. No one at that time, we didn't even really do design on computers and anything. Right. But this was, I was a designer, and I wanted to do 3 days in the office and 2 at home. I had someone throw me out of their office and tell me, that's great, we can't do that. And I said, but I have over 10 years of experience. But we can. I have over 10 years of experience. Of course we can. And I waited and I just stuck with it. And I was like, that's it. This is what's important. This is what I need for my girls. I had so many people say to me, why don't you just hire a nanny? First of all, medically, they needed more than a nanny. Second of all, I thought I didn't have them, so someone else could raise them. And I understand that's not for everyone, but for me, I was listening to what was important for me. So in the end, I found someone who I did 3 days in the office, and that became, of course, then that becomes my reality. So then you're speaking to that. That's my track record. That's my success level. And I kept going from there. But I kept kind of reevaluating it and transitioning through differently and just rewiring it completely. So I guess when it came to this change and going back to school, my age was a big obstacle for me, but it really wasn't for everyone else.
Isn't that the truth, though? We create them in our own minds.
Projection of, I made every joke imaginable before, so that I could make all the age jokes beforehand. And after a while, I remember one of my teammates, or, we were doing a project, said, why do you keep doing that? And I said, I don't know. It's just a default mechanism. I said, I am so much older than you. She's like, I know. Right. You don't have to keep bringing it
I'm
up.
Aware. It's a benefit. Thank you very much.
And I'm a lot younger than you are and not as experienced. We don't have to keep bringing that up either. So, it just, I got over myself. And I think, again, that growth mindset and, taking on a whole different life and a whole different way of viewing things. I learned that, it really makes a difference. You can make a difference. Neuroplasticity, that muscle in there, you can keep using it, and you just keep using it like a muscle. Keep stretching it, and you can keep learning new things and different things. And
your brain can change. That's the definition of neuroplasticity, is we have the ability to change. Science that, not too long ago was was believed not to be true, but is today.
Absolutely.
So I just love your transparency in that, and the reality of, hey, so many of us, it's self-created stuff. We need to get out of our own way. Is there anything, Barbara, that I haven't asked you today that you're like, you know what? These listeners, these women need to hear this?
Two things. First, not being perfect is okay. I know I want to do my best, like I said, and, but we are all, imperfect, perfect. And, I'm inadequate at times, but you learn from that. But we are enough in any situation. We just ask the questions. Really try to reach out and ask someone else, well, what do you think? I encourage, so many of my coaches, I coach with Caltech, I coach with, museum directors, a lot of young scientists, a lot of millennials, some people starting their first job, some people in their first job headed for management. And a lot of it is about, what can I say? What can I do? I don't feel I'm enough. I don't feel I'm right for this. You're exactly where you're supposed to be, and you are enough. And the best way you can show up as a leader, of course, is to ask your team, how can I learn from you? And they, of course, will trust you more. And that level of trust and vulnerability just builds. So I always talk about, Charlie Haversatt's Perfection is Holding Us Back, that TED Talk. I always think that's such a great TED Talk. And I think the second thing is that we need to align with our core values. It's so important that's what I always do with my clients. It's important that someone does their strengths, your skills, and what you've invested your time in. But then also, I like to do the VIA, which is by Chris Peterson and Martin Seligman, your values in action. Those are really your core values. But I love to integrate them with my clients, because I find especially when you're looking at career transition, if you're not aligning those, because I know I didn't know what they were. And now that I look at them, they were not aligned years ago. But if you're aligning those, think about those when you're making decisions. Think about those in any situation. This is aligning my authentic core values.
What's
really, so much
really, really important to you, right? I mean, ultimately, we have to run things through that filter, because if we don't, we're not going to be in a happy place. That's for sure. How can we help you with your current mission, Barbara?
There's three facets, I guess, of my mission, of serving and impacting as many humans as possible. Individual coaching, of course. I focus on potential, unlocking that potential, aligning those core values, career transition, productivity, and really a lot of work-life balance. But another thing is looking at team coaching. If there's any teams out there that would really benefit from aligning the team together, bringing that emotional intelligence of the team cohesively. I don't like to call them, EQ and all that, or soft skills. They're more like power skills, because they need to be brought to every level of the company. And then when I say all levels or all humans, or as many humans as possible, I mean every level of the company. It's important to me. My partner and I, we've developed a program called IDEAL, which is innovative development to empower and accelerate leaders. And it's on a team coaching level, it's on a university level, it's on a C-suite level, but it really focuses on the same thing, aligning them with their strengths, boosting their confidence, bringing in those power skills, role playing, but following through, keep following through. So if there's, anybody who's interested in something like that, I'd love to just talk to you, and no strings attached, just talk. I'm all about connecting. I love to help people. I have a lot of testimonials on my LinkedIn that you can certainly read, and see how I work.
So we will put your contact info, your connections to social in the episodes. Folks can connect with you. I know that I have personally witnessed that ability to engage in relationship in short order in our first 3 days together in person in LA. I'm so grateful that you took the time to be with us today. Thank you, Barbara.
Thanks so much, Carrie. It was a pleasure.